Hello and welcome to the 72nd episode of From Impossible to Inevitable. I am your host, Megan Bauer. Thank you so much for pushing play today and for joining me on this episode. Now, when I had first planned out this episode, it was actually going to be a 3-part series, and I was pretty excited about it because that meant I had 3 podcasts taken care of. But the more I started to plan out the content and what I wanted to say, the more I realized that it really all needed to be in one because I didn't want to leave you hanging on anything negative. So I'm going to try to be as concise as possible today to get through all of these ideas that I have for you. And hopefully it won't be too much and hopefully it won't be too overwhelming. So the basis of the podcast today is a quote that somebody said to me recently. We were talking, I don't even remember exactly what we were talking about. I think we were talking about one of my little girls and how she was just solving problems, just not no drama. She was just taking care of business. And the quote was, "Problem with a question mark, fix it, move on." And I loved that. And do you see how that lends itself perfectly to a 3-part series? Like problem, fix it, move on. But I didn't want to create an episode completely based on problems because that just is such a downer. So I didn't want to do that to you and I didn't want to do that to me. So on we go. So sometimes the girls can be a lot of drama. Of course, they're children, they're girls. But my little one, she can have this tendency to just see a problem, solve it, and just move on. Like it's totally not even in her awareness anymore. And that's so cool and that's so fun. So for today, I wanted to start obviously with problems. Now we've got the big obvious problems. We've got the, flooded basement, that happened to a friend recently. We've got a car that won't start. We've got scheduling problems. We've got problems that are just obvious, like this is a problem and now it needs to be fixed. I also want to invite you to see the other things in your surroundings and in your environment, in your life that maybe aren't like high key problems, but they are still daily annoyances. They're still something that you keep tripping up on. I've shared over and over about dinner time here and how that's been something that has been a problem for us because every time dinner time came up, I was already over it. I was already like, I don't even. So, that was a problem. Even though it's not a life or death thing, it's not a big thing, it was a daily annoyance. It was a daily trip up. And we have these things that we just tend to deal with because they aren't like, lights flashing problems in our lives. So we just deal with it instead of choosing to solve it. Problems, you can also find them when you are trying to build new habits and you're coming across barriers to building those habits. Like if you want to start eating better, then a barrier would be all of the food that's in your house that doesn't qualify your new eating better standards. All of those things could be a problem that you then need to solve so that you can be, most successful with the new habit that you're trying to build. And also excuses. So when you have an excuse for something that you wanted to do or you should have done or whatever, that can be, if it's over and over and over again, that can be a problem. And so I want you to consider these things. And yes, they might not be high key problems, but the more of these problems that you can solve and then move on, the better your day is going to go, because then you won't have these little annoyances or these little trip ups or, you won't have these barriers to who you want to be, who you want to become in your way. You can just move forward. You can move on. So one of the problems that I thought of is that we have not solved is the girls' bathtub. It's probably hair, but it just will not drain. And we've tried several things, and probably just need to get a plumber over here, but we haven't done it. We have not solved this problem. It hasn't been important enough. So the girls have been they'll shower in our shower. If they want to take a bath, they'll shower in our bath. And it's a little annoying because if I take an afternoon nap after we get home from school, because then they're like in and out as they're getting ready for bed. And I know sometimes I take late naps, but it's not our space. It's not Jake's and my space. We've got the girls that are in and out. We've got their toys in our bathtub. We have their shampoo and their conditioner, and it's not ideal. Yet we choose to deal with it every single day rather than taking a Saturday or an evening to actually solve the problem. So this is an example of something that we just choose to deal with the annoyance over solving the actual problem, even though we would very much prefer the actual problem to be solved. It's just neither one of us has called the professional, made the appointment, we just haven't done it. So there's a situation from my real life. Another thing that I wanted to mention as far as problems is sometimes we don't actually know the true problem until we get into it. So, with the bathtub, it's probably hair. I don't know. Maybe one of the girls shoved something down there and there's actually, a bigger issue at hand. We haven't really even looked into it that much. It wasn't working, so we switched to what was working or what could work, even though it's not the best situation, it's not the best option, but it's getting the job done. The girls get clean and life goes on. But recently, Jake has been waking up in the middle of the night with uveitis, and this sucks a lot. He can't breathe. It's really not an ideal situation. And even though he's been able to manage it and calm it down, I am still wide awake and on edge. Do we need an ambulance? What? So finally, after one particular awful night, I was like, I'm done. I'm really done with this. So please make an appointment to go see an ENT and let's get this figured out, because while you might be willing to deal with this, I'm done. And so he did. He went in, and the ENT was just like, look, I can see that this could be a problem, but what's actually the real contributing issue, what's really causing all of this is Jake has some swollen glands or something in his nose that's preventing him from breathing fully out of his nose. So then his throat dries out. So then the uveitis flares up and it's a chain reaction. So the uveitis is actually a symptom of what the real problem was. And there are things in our lives that are just symptoms of what the real problem is, but we don't actually know that they're a symptom until we start digging in and looking into it. A nasal spray later and life is better. And it's just it's a little bit frustrating on my end, because it's just life could have been better so many months ago. But it's okay. We're there now. Another thing I wanted to mention about a daily annoyance or a problem, and really I'm just digging for examples in my own life so that you can have open eyes as you look around in your life on what these little problems are. And maybe you don't want to call it a problem. Maybe that feels too heavy for you. Maybe just go with, a little annoyance or a trip up, or just something that you can improve, because you can. When I go pick up the girls, I love to get there early. And so I pack something for me to do. I'll pack my iPad, or I'll pack a notebook, or, whatever it is that I choose that I want to do when I get there early. And then I pack things for the girls to do on the ride home. I'll pack snacks and whatever. And what I used to do for much of the school year is I would just kind of balance it all on the largest object and put it in the front seat of my car. And, you know, sometimes there would be quick stops and things would, slide to the floor, and that would be not ideal, but there it was. And then when we got home, it was the same balancing act to get back into the house. I had all of these things piled on top of the largest thing, and and then it just goes on a counter or something, to be dispersed wherever it goes. And I did this for much of the year and not even thinking that it was a problem. I didn't define it as something that needed solving. And really that's what we're doing, is we're defining things as things that can be solved, that you can fix, that you can improve. Until I was out with a friend and I saw these super cute pink baskets. They're hot pink. They're like my nails if you're watching on YouTube. And I loved them. And immediately I was like, what can I use this for? And my first thought was taking the basket to put in between the girl seats. They have captain seats. So I was like, oh, well, I can put that basket in between their seats. And it can be kind of like a catch-all whenever they have, whenever they bring toys or books or whatever, it can all go in this basket and can stay really nice. What ended up actually happening was I started using this basket for the pickup stuff. Like, so my book, my notebook, my iPad, whatever I put, their snacks, everything would go into this basket, or does go into this basket. And that basket goes on the front seat. And even in quick stops or whatever, everything's so contained, and the basket ends up being so heavy that nothing slides to the floor. And it's so nice because it's all in one place. The basket has handles. So I just can grab the basket, go inside once we get home. And the girls even know if they want me to bring something to pick up, if they want a specific toy on the way home, all they have to do is put it in the basket. And then they know that when they get in the car at school, they're going to have that thing because it was in the basket. So this has been an incredible solution to something that I didn't even realize was such an annoying thing. And I remember the first few weeks that I had this basket, I was like, I love this. This is the best thing ever. And instead of being a trip up, it was now a source of joy because it was so much easier. And I still use it. And it's a great tool that I didn't even realize I needed. So there we go. Look for these things in your life that are daily annoyances, daily trip ups, things that just get in your way, things that even just get in the way of your mood. Maybe not get in the way physically, but that just get in the way of your vibe. And when you start to see those and see them as things that can be improved, you're going to open up your mind to possible solutions, possible improvements. If I had decided, way earlier in the year that I really needed something to contain all this stuff I was taking to school and back home, then I would have been on the lookout for a basket, or even just used something I already had way before then to solve that problem. But it wasn't even on my radar as something I could improve. So I want you to be on the lookout for that, okay? And then once you have been on the lookout for these things, think about possible solutions. Think about first, actually, before you even think about possible solutions, consider, is this something worth fixing? Like, sometimes that answer is no. Obviously, for the whole bath situation for our girls, that hasn't been worth fixing yet. We haven't hit a threshold, either one of us, where it's like, okay, now I'm going to make this a real priority and we're going to figure this out. And probably most of the time, it's because we're not even thinking about it until it's bath time. And then it's like, what, 6:30 at night? We're not going to call a plumber at 6:30 at night. That's something that you do during the day. But during the day, it's not even on our radar. So until we reach this point where it's on our radar enough during the day, we probably won't do anything about it. Well, I mean, I'm just being honest. At some point, we'll reach that point. We just haven't gotten there yet. So if the answer is, okay, it's not worth fixing right now, then keep that in mind every time the issue comes up. I don't get frustrated that the girls have their things in our bathroom because I already know I haven't done anything about it. And it's like, okay, well, I haven't done anything about it, so I don't really have anything to be frustrated about because I have not put forth any energy towards solving this problem. And so if it's worth fixing, if you decide that it's worth fixing, then start thinking about solutions, especially if it's a daily point of contention, like dinner time has so often been for us. That is definitely a problem that was worth fixing for us. It was definitely something we needed a solution for because it just rankled me so much. I hate dinner time. So, is it worth fixing? And do you know enough about the potential solutions? As you are thinking about fixing it, you might think, oh, we already know it's going to be too expensive or it's going to be too time consuming or whatever it is. Do you actually for sure know that? I've shared before about we had this garage situation. I'm going to try to run through it real quick because it's one of my favorite stories about this exact topic. We moved into this house, and shortly afterwards, our garage wouldn't open. It kept tripping the breaker. So in order to get it open or shut, you had to, go and push the button on the outlet, run and push the button on the garage, and then wait for the whole thing to reset in order to push the button on the breaker and shut the garage. It was a process. We did this for a couple of months. Jake was like, oh, it's going to be this whole time consuming thing. I'm going to have to replace this and I'm going to have to go get the part for this and blah, 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 all of this. But we went off of that assumption, and I didn't know any better. I don't know anything about electricity. And I was like, okay. And when he finally decided he had enough time to fix the situation, he took off the outlet cover for the first time and realized it was just a loose wire. So it was a couple second fix. He just reattached the wire better or whatever, put the outlet cover back on. We've had zero issues. So that is dealing with a problem, a very annoying problem, without any research whatsoever, going off pure assumptions. So when you're thinking about solutions to these problems, are these researched solutions? Like, do you know it will really actually be expensive or time consuming or whatever it is? And if it is, then okay, just work towards creating the time for that, work towards having the budget for that, whatever it is, so that you are actively working towards the solution for it. I love that story because it's just always been in my mind since it happened about really like challenging the assumptions that we have. And then make a plan of action. If it's a simple thing, if you just need a basket for the front seat of the car, then go get a basket or order one online or whatever it is. Go find a box. If you can't, if you don't have the time at the very moment to get a basket, get a box that can serve your purposes for now until you get a basket, until you can go to the store, whatever it is. Some of these things aren't as complicated as we make them, and yet we let them annoy us, we let them trip us up, we let them put us in a bad mood all the time, and they're not even that complicated. And then the third step is, of course, move on. You solved it, let's move on. I could have chosen to grumble about all the months that we spent pushing the breaker button and then pushing the garage, running and pushing the garage button and then waiting for the whole thing. It doesn't matter. Like, okay, we did that. We're silly. I got a great story out of it. move on. Okay? Just like I told you in the very beginning with my little, she will find a problem, find a solution, and then after she solves it, is completely not in her awareness. It's like it never even happened. So if you are going to dwell on that, dwell on it in gratitude. Be like, man, I am so grateful that I finally did that, that I finally took care of that. I am so grateful that this isn't a daily annoyance anymore. I am so grateful we have a meal plan on the fridge so that when I get a text message of what's for dinner, I can be like, it's this. This is what we decided on. And if you want something different, then great. You decide because this is here and I'm done. I'm now done deciding. We can change it, but at the moment I'm all done deciding about dinner. I get really heated about that apparently. So what I'm saying is that after you solve this, or after you choose not to fix it, move on. Just let it go, release it emotionally, release it mentally, and don't let it bother you anymore. And if it's continuing to bother you, then you need to move it up on your priority list and find a real solution, because what you decided was a solution isn't a real solution. If it's still bothering you, it's not a real solution. Do you hear me on that? It's a solution when it's no longer a source of annoyance or tripping up or any of that. When you can look at that situation and be like, I am so grateful, that's when you've solved it. So, problem, fix it, move on. Just let's get going. We've got other things to do. Okay. Hopefully that was concise. And I hope that you use this to go find those little annoyances, those little trip ups, and make an improvement. You'll be surprised at how much of an improvement such little things can make. Going to pick up the girls from school with my pink basket is the best. Like, I'm so grateful for that silly pink basket because it's made not like a life-changing difference, but it's made a good difference in my life, and I'm grateful to have it. So it's stuff like that. It's stuff like it really is. It's stuff like that. We spend so much time on the big problems and we let these little things just chip away at us and annoy us all the time. But it doesn't have to be like that, because you can solve those little annoyances and they're probably easier than you think. Anyways, that's all I've got for you for today. I hope you have the best day. Until next time, bye for now.